All right, once again, my name is Major Corwin Lemon. I'm one of the individuals who is part of the 601st Air Operations Center's General Aviation Outreach Team here at Tyndall. If you can see the slide in front of you, it's got our phone number and our email address. The bottom line that I want you guys to know today is this is an informational brief for the Northeast Region recurring VIP TFR. There is no scheduled TFR date at this time, but we do expect one to be forthcoming. So we wanted to hold this meeting with all of you to kind of give you a heads up on what to expect, how to interact with the airspace, and how to interact with us so that we can help navigate you through the season and make everyone's life just a little easier. Okay, so the next slide you should be seeing, and please, if you are not seeing any slides, go ahead and throw something in the chat. The next slide you should be seeing is just a little bit about the team. We are currently comprised of about 5 individuals from the Air Force doing this kind of as a side project. Our primary operation here is to defend and protect the airspace over the continental US. But part of that is making sure that we are communicating with you, our public. So out of the team, we've got some aviators, some airfield ops folks, and some individuals who are experts in aviation communications. We, again, are here to engage with you, inform you on what's going on. You are civil aviation partners, and our end objective is to try to keep the skies safe, but also to reduce temporary flight restriction violations, which is something that our aviators deal with on a regular basis with TFRs. We try to do this through our partnership with the general aviation community. We all in the room here, whether we are civil or military aviation, we've flown on both sides of it. We share the passion that you guys share for flying, and we understand that aviation is one of the cornerstones of Americans' freedom. So we do want to help you enjoy that freedom as best as possible, and that's why we hold these informational briefings. Slide. Couple ground rules we already talked about. We will keep everyone muted during the event, well, hopefully not the presenters, but we will keep all the audience muted for the event. If you have any questions, please utilize the chat function. The best way to do that, to draw attention to your question, is to utilize the format that's there on the screen. If you cannot see it, it's going to be at the organization you are trying to reach. So the at symbol, the organization you're trying to reach, and then colon dash, whatever you need, and your question. So as an example, at FAA colon, where will the airspace be found? We will come back to questions at the end of the event. So we will not pause after each presenter, but we will come back at the end and do a moderated Q&A based on what you have provided. If we do continue to experience technical difficulties with the sound, we will switch over to an alternate link. We'll post that link in the chat. We will also try to send an email out to any of you who have signed up through the form that we have previously sent out. Real quick and dirty on the way outreach works for us. Again, this is a team of military individuals augmented by our government partners. We receive varying notice and notification as far as upcoming TFRs. Depending on how far out we get that information, we try to get it out to you almost immediately, but you may have degraded data as far as what you will be receiving. So if we get information about a TFR and it comes out a long way in advance, we try to do more, but the initial push for information will probably come out via email, and it will be vague. It'll have the kind of the date we expect it to occur, the generalized location, and then as more information is produced from the Secret Service, DHS, whoever is requesting that TFR, we then continue to push that out to you guys via follow-up emails. So the typical way you'll see this come out is an initial email will come out, tell you a date and location we expect something to be happening. We won't have specific data. We'll follow that up with phone calls. The phone calls will be coming out predominantly to airport managers and FBOs. So it is essential as we move into the season that you stop by those FBOs. I know that is not always in everyone's cross-check. So please stop by your FBO, make sure you're aware of what's going on. And then we'll follow that up with a final email once the FAA publishes the NOTAM that will have the NOTAM information, where to find it, dates, times. It'll have a graphical depiction. But as one quick foot stomp to that, NOTAMs do change, TFRs do change. So make sure you are staying abreast on the FAA's NOTAM website. That is your source document. We are just passing that data along. So keep on that page, make sure you know if that TFR is moving as we get close in. What you should see now in front of you is a graphical depiction of what you should expect to see. Again, kind of walks you through the sequence of events as far as what we get. The initial email comes out just to notify what's going on. Then the phone calls come out to the airport managers and FBOs. Follow up once the FAA publishes the NOTAM, and we follow up with the link that you see on the top. That's directly off the FAA's website. And then below, we kind of give a different graphical depiction that may make a little more sense for those used to the aviation charts. The last thing I would ask you to do is definitely, if you have any questions, reach out to us. There's a phone number in this brief. We will distribute the brief. There is an email address in this brief. Reach out to us, ask those questions, let us know. Better to inform you and take up a little bit of extra time than to have anyone be unaware of the TFR. In addition to what we're doing, you will have the FAA sending out SPANS messages to the aviators within 500 nautical miles that have registered. You will also have AOPA reaching out to all of their members. Those two agencies are extremely important in our partnership in getting the information out to all of you. We do have our own database that we try to utilize. You will see a link throughout the presentation where you can sign yourself up to that database if you would like, if you are a general aviator. Otherwise, most of our information is pulled off of AirNav or other publicly available databases, which have the information only for the airports and the FBOs. Slide.
All right, good morning. I'm Second Lieutenant Turner. I'm the Public Affairs Officer here at the AOC, and I run the social media outreach for the outreach team. So our social media is still relatively new. Our general aviation outreach page, as you can see here on Facebook, it's only been up since July, but that is where on social media, we're gonna match tempo with the rest of the team. So it won't be published on there once the NOTAM is released, because again, NOTAMs change. And also we have partnership through the NORAD Facebook page as well as AOPA to share those as I post them. So every post is going to be pretty much the same. You can see the example on the bottom right, and it's that for a reason. I don't make it creative, so I want you, if you get used to one, you can go look through, get the pertinent data out. So right at the top, you'll see where's the location of the TFR, or if there's multiple TFRs, the date range that it's going to be in effect, and every single one of them is going to have the link directly to the FAA NOTAMs. Now notice that is not to that individual NOTAM. That's going to take you to their main page. So that way, if they change the NOTAM and I put a bad link, it won't get you somewhere. So that's why it's taken directly to the main page. So every TFR that our outreach team here sends emails about and phone calls about, you will see a post on there. So if you go to this page, you're going to see everything from Bedminster from last season, Mar-a-Lago currently going on, Artemis launches, State of the Union. Now for more individualized approach, we target Facebook groups that are within 100 nautical miles of the TFR. So for Bedminster specifically, there's a total of about 7 right now in targeting. These are just the top 4. So if you're not a part of these groups, go look for them, join them. That's where we'll be posting those as well. If you are an admin to a group or you know of a group, please, if you see these pages, share them as well. We do have the limitation that since we are a page, that if these admins are going and blocking pages, I can't even go in there and talk. So if you are a part of these other groups that we can't get into, please share with your fellow aviators. That's the whole point of this program. And you also see the same picture that they will publish on the email. I'll make sure to throw on every single post.
Slide. All right, Major Lemon back with you. What you should see on the screen now is our current best way to reach the general aviation population. Again, I want to put some that our first line of communication are airport managers and FBOs. Guys, we really rely on you to get the word out to the aviation population coming through your airport. It is the best and cleanest way for us to do this because you are a public entity and we aren't reaching directly out to the public with this effort. However, for our general aviators, you've got a web link here as well as a QR code. You can utilize either of those to self-enroll in our database, and then you will receive those same emails that the FBOs and the airport managers are sending out. Slide. And then this last slide here that I have for you really just deals with, if you're unfamiliar with the NOTAM website, it's just kind of a flow diagram as far as how you will see the ones that are most commonly occurring in your area as we enter this summer season. You can see the FAA's website is at the top of the page. There's also a QR code with a dinosaur on the right-hand side. Either of those should take you to the correct location. The best way I would advise you to key on to the TFRs for VIPs in your area are to utilize that drop-down menu for the TFR type, and then that will radically limit the list so you're not trying to comb through everything everywhere all at once. Go ahead and slide. All right, with that, I'm going to hand it off to the far more interesting people to give you briefs on what the airspace will look like. I have Mr. Urban starting off from Philadelphia. Then we're going to have someone coming in from FAA HQ to give the systems operation security brief. And then finally, we're going to have one of our air interceptors on the line to kind of walk you through what you will actually see should you be in a TFR unaware and be intercepted by a military aircraft. Slide. Dave, I will hand it over to you at this time. Can you try to throw your slides up on the screen?
Hopefully everybody sees one there that says Philly Tracon Tower. My name's Dave Urban. I'm one of the procedure specialists at Philadelphia, and I handle all of the special operations and oddities that go on within our airspace. Last June, we also picked up the area where Bedminster TFRs take place. And so Philly Approach now owns pretty much from south of White Plains down to Dover. Two very big chunks of airspace, two very big and busy chunks of airspace. Screen just disappeared. Just give you a little bit of idea of what the traffic flow underneath or during a Bedminster TFR looks like. This is arrivals in the Newark. I'm going to go through these relatively quickly because what I want to do is show you these and then show you where the TFR lies in relationship to this and why it is so important not to get caught up in a TFR and have fighter intercept come down during all of this traffic that's there. These are the departures. Looks like I'm very slow here on the lag, so if none of this doesn't make sense, Major Corwin, if I could get you just to tell me if you guys are seeing this as what I'm talking about comes up.
Hey, Dave, we have the Tracon Tower depiction with the southwest flow right now. Over.
Okay. I just went to go move the screen and it just tells me bring presenters on screen and share content.
And now I'm showing northeast flow, southwest flow.
Okay. So what I showed you first here was Newark. Add into that Teterboro. And you can see, regardless of what flow each airport is on, this airspace is packed with airplanes all day long. Bedminster TFR. Yeah, I have it as a three-headed dragon because it's actually a series of multiple TFRs. Arrivals can be into Morristown, Allentown, or Newark. And I'll touch on each one of these things and its intricacies as we go along, but just getting some basics. All right, temporary flight restriction is type of notice to airmen that defines an area restricted to travel. Doesn't mean everybody is prevented from operating in it, but everybody has a certain set of rules to be able to operate within a certain chunk of the airspace. Bedminster TFR is normally a 30-mile ring centered off the Solberg distance, and this information is in the FAA NOTAM and on the web page that comes out. All aircraft have to be on an active IFR or VFR flight plan. Now, I'll say that carefully because the outer core requires everybody to be on a flight plan with a beacon code talking to ATC at all times. The inner core does not allow general aviation activity at all, with the exception of certain lifeguard functions. There are special procedures contained in each of the NOTAMs that will tell how lifeguard and medevac should pre-coordinate that information to not be delayed gaining access to the TFR. This is the Bedminster TFR in relationship to the airspace. Centered just south of Solberg with small cutouts for Doylestown, Elephant Path, Greenwood Lake, and there is a cutout over here for the Hudson River exclusion. This gets to be an exceptionally busy chunk of airspace because a lot of things are compressed. All the tour operators that may operate at varying altitudes when the TFR is not in effect, they're now down there at 900 feet and below, packed into a very tight channel as you come up along this portion of the airspace in the river. Normally, we used to get things well in advance. Typically now, they're not getting out till about 48 hours in advance. Changing world, and everybody's on the move very quickly now. TFRs. This is one that catches a lot of people. Watch out for TFRs that are in Class B airspace. You're talking to air traffic. I do not have the ability, or the language, I should say, to clear you into a TFR. You, as a pilot, are supposed to have the knowledge of what requirements you need to have to operate in the outer ring of the TFR. So if your flight path takes you through the TFR, all I'm going to do is make sure that we're talking and squawking. However, Class B is another thing that catches a lot of people. Just because you can operate in the TFR outer ring doesn't mean you have a Class B clearance. Please make sure that you get a Class B clearance. I'd hate to have anybody during one of these things think, oh, I'm meeting all the requirements of the TFR, and then get an airspace deviation for getting into the Class B airspace without one. There's over 200, and it's probably closer to 300 landing strips, airports, heliports, mom and pop farm airports within the TFRs. This is one reason why, if you're trying to pick up an IFR clearance, I'm going to ask you to please plan ahead and don't wait till the last minute to try to pick it up by calling in. We are limited with our resources as far as number of available phone lines. That will give you a little bit of an idea of just within the Bedminster portion of the TFR, how many people can be trying to get in touch with ATC at any given moment. I talked earlier about it catching multiple TFRs. This is what it would look like with the aircraft going into Allentown. That then normally is either a motorcade or a helicopter lift to Bedminster. Morristown, TFR. And if you'll notice, the Allentown and the Morristown do not get cutouts. They're short-term in duration, normally an hour, hour and a half on the arrival and an hour to an hour and a half on the departure side of it. Plan accordingly. The Bedminster TFR does get cutouts because normally when that's in for several days. And there are a couple airports that are close enough that we can safely get aircraft in and out of there without it being an impact on the safety of the protectee. Morristown, normally used when it's a shorter leg flight and he's flying the 757 in. And you'll see here, Morristown TFR, but a huge portion of that gets into the Class B airspace for the New York metropolitan area. This is Newark, normally coming back from international trips. He's going to go to Bedminster. He's going to come into Newark. That shuts things down there. Some of the airports, and I'll point out a couple of these things. Trenton has a small, narrow corridor, 3,000 feet and below, to be able to get in and out. And I'll explain some of the rules on operating there. Morristown and Caldwell have also, we've developed VFR escape routes where you're talking only to the tower to exit out of the TFR. Here's that chunk of airspace that I talked about over the Hudson River exclusion. And you can see it's not very wide to get in and out of there. The line here that confuses people a lot of times, active IFR or filed VFR flight plan with its discrete code. Active IFR, once you depart, it's active. VFR filed, ATC never sees the VFR flight plan, but our security partners, should they need that information, that's where they're going to get it from. That is the requirement to operate within the TFR. Two-way radio communication. Sometimes this gets everybody in trouble because air traffic at times, the first thing they want to say when you want to cancel IFR is squawk 1200 frequency change approved. If you hear that, please do not do that. Remind the controller, because at times we get busy, things come out that shouldn't. You have to be on your beacon code all the way to the ground and two-way radio communication with ATC. I talked earlier about how to find out if presidential TFR is active. Again, this is one of those things that changes dramatically. The published times may or may not coincide with the actual times the TFRs become active. If you are planning to operate right up to the beginning start time of a TFR, please make sure you're in contact with ATC, because if the protectee of that TFR is early or the flight didn't take as long to get there, these can be activated in real time. ATC will try to make broadcasts on any available frequency, including unicoms and guard frequencies. Please monitor those frequencies if you've got the capability of dual com. VFR departure. Call Philly approach on the ground, and I can't emphasize that enough. on the ground. You cannot depart on a 1200 code. We'll give you a beacon code. We'll ask you for a projected time of your departure. VFR, I realize you're probably not on any type of schedule, but the beacon codes only remain active for so long within our system. Somebody last year called at 8 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, they finally departed. Beacon code was no longer in the system. They got dropped on because there was no way to verify exactly who it was 8 hours after they picked up their beacon code. I had the same slide here, but this gives you a little bit of idea of seeing what VIPs, and watch for this all the time. Do not assume that just because you check this in the morning, 2 hours later, there won't be a reissue. Once you're at this site, if you click on the hyperlink that's here, it'll bring up all the information that was available on publication on the TFR. We'll normally ask airports that have the ATIS capability that surround the TFR to carry some type of message on their ATIS broadcast with the NOTAM numbers and published times. For flight, I want to touch on this because again, this was mentioned earlier about being one of the ways to get a hold of things as far as information from TFRs. Please be careful and do not use ForeFlight as your only means of getting this information. ForeFlight, once you shut down, it stays in the last mode that you had active once it was shut down. So if you did not have TFR selected and you get ready to depart and you turn things back on and you don't see anything, even though you may be departing right in the middle of the TFR, ForeFlight will not let you know that until it's too late. And being too late is once you realize that there's company up there and you look out the window. Please make sure that you have this box checked when operating in and around the TFR. Picking up the clearance on the ground before you depart, absolutely a must. During these TFRs, certain routes are shut down because either they take you through the inner core of the TFR as a general aviation aircraft, or traffic flows that are changed now impact your expected or filed route. It allows you and the controller to make sure that the routing is correct, that you have sufficient fuel, and that we have a good readback from you. Workload during these TFRs greatly increases on our side. There's not always time to get a clearance straightened out in the air. Please make sure you get everything straight on the ground. I'm just going to kind of bounce through some of these because of time limitations. All right. If you are already airborne and approaching the TFR, please make sure you give us enough time on that initial call up. Yes, I said earlier, there is no clearance into the TFR, but what I have to be able to do is give you a beacon code and radar identify you and make sure you have the right altimeter setting. The frequencies are very congested during TFRs. Don't assume that the first call up 2 miles from the edge of the TFR with you driving right towards it is going to be answered in time for us to get you the information to keep it clean. No hard and fast rule, but we suggest about 10 miles out. Here's one thing that might help you. Coming in from a facility, say Allentown, or a facility that isn't quite as busy as the Newark area and Philly area TRACONs are. You have to get a beacon code and you have to be talking to ATC, but nothing in the TFR says what facility you have to get that initial call into to get a beacon code. If you would normally not pick up flight following till halfway through the route, I strongly encourage you to think about getting flight following from the moment you leave wherever it is you're leaving. These are some of the changes that would expect to try to get through the to try to get around the inner core of the TFR into the satellite airports in the Newark area. The normal routing for those of you that come up Victor 3 or on the Maisie or Jake arrival takes you smack right through the middle of the center of the inner core of the TFR. You need to get these off the ground to make sure that you plan accordingly as far as fuel goes. Some of these routes, especially at a high altitude, can add between 200 and 350 miles of flight. Coming into Linden, Princeton, and Central Jersey, you can expect to be routed in over Yardley via and Metro intersection. These are just a little touch up of some of how we're going to get you there. And you can see we have routings that will take you around this portion. Up over East Texas, if you're not RNAV equipped, Bopley, Lizzie, Penn, Stillwater, if you are RNAV equipped. Going into Central Jersey Regional, Princeton, again, here's that Yardley routing. Routings also change based upon Newark runway configuration. This is because down low, the final stretches out and there's no room to keep GA aircraft clear of both the final and the inner core of the TFR at times. You can expect something that looks like that coming from the north. And you can expect some of these routes as far back as Dover, Atlantic City, and McGuire to get you around and on the established routes to get you to your destination. You can see there, some of that is a long way around, but it is your only way to get around. Trenton, those of you that operate out Trenton, we've given them a cutout. If you can depart to the southwest and are not requesting ATC services, Trenton Tower will give you a beacon code and they will work you all the way out to the edge of the TFR and then cut you loose. If you are looking for flight following from Philly, the procedure is going to be different. You're going to have to get in line with the IFR traffic, get a beacon code from Trenton Tower, and be released in order. The TFR punch out kind of works on about these headings, 170 to 260, not requesting services from Philly. And there won't be any delay in getting you a local beacon code from the tower. Caldwell has a similar, but there's no cutout. Caldwell Tower will get you a beacon code if you can depart to the northeast and clear the TFR, not looking for ATC services from the TRACON in the areas here. Once you're out, they'll cut you loose here about just about where the reservoir is. Coming back in, there's a fixed routing via APART. You have to establish communications and get a beacon code assignment from Caldwell Tower prior to APART. These are covered presently in a letter to airmen. It's PHL 41, but for this coming season, it will be reissued as a Caldwell letter to airmen. we've gotten published VFR waypoints to make it easier to put this stuff into your GPS units. Morristown has the same thing, again, covered under a letter to airmen, presently as a Philly letter to airmen, but tagged to Caldwell, Morristown, and surrounding airports. Reservoir to reservoir, and then out to the northeast again at the reservoir. This is what the Caldwell letter to airmen looks like presently. This should go active here in a day or two. It'll give you the waypoint, it'll give you the lat long for the points and a physical description of where they want you to be, just to make sure that everyone has a clear understanding to use these routes where you have to position yourself. Initial contacts, Allentown approach from the northwest, 2445. Philly approach from the south and southeast, south and southwest, 123.8. And if you're up above 7,000 feet, maybe 128.4. Newark area approach of Philly, 132.8, 28.55 in this area here, and McGuire. Can I cancel IFR VFR services while inside the outer ring of the TFR? Yes, you can. You cancel your IFR flight plan or advisory services while in the air. I would tell you only do this if you are within sight of the airport, and we are going to instruct you to remain on our frequency and your discrete beacon code until we cut you loose to airport advisory frequency close in. 20 miles out and you call the airport in sight, I'm going to make sure that you're still talking to me and remind you repeatedly to stay on that beacon code until you're on the ground. This one comes up periodically. Can I go in, land for a few minutes, and come back up? Well, short answer is no, but if you're really quick with a drop off and you coordinate that going in with a 5 or 10 minute drop time, we can get you back off on that same code. It would just be the same thing as if you're calling from the ground and you're giving me a realistic departure time of 5 to 10 minutes to get back into the air. All right, as I had said earlier, if you've got the ability to be up on guard, that is the first place we are going to look for somebody that's driving towards the TFR or has already entered it. It is also the first call that the intercept aircraft are going to try to reach out to you on. Following things are not authorized within the TFR inner or outer core. Flight training practice instrument approaches. If you're an instructor or a student, the instructor can fly the airplane out of the TFR. You can go do your practice work outside the TFR. Instructor comes back flying the airplane. Aerobatic flight, glider, parachute ops, balloon, all these other things that normally would go on a weekend or during the course of certain times of season need to be rescheduled. There are 1 or 2 exceptions, and I still have this as the Wilmington flight request. But since so much of New Jersey's economy is based on agriculture, and certain times a year, crops have to be sprayed. If you're running a crop dusting aircraft, you can make pre-coordinated approvals with the Secret Service. But we're going to ask you for all of the information you see here, and we have a block grid that will be sent out to you with the information you need to put in there is where you intend to operate and at what time you intend to operate. You have to be ADS-B equipped though to participate in this, because once you go down low, My radar may not see you, but the ADS-B should. This is the area covered by the grid program. Pretty much just what you see for the Bedminster only TFR. This is I left in there because it's one of the things that we can do but it takes about 6 or 8 months. For Wilmington, we were able to get approach procedures or missed approach procedures that prevented certain airports from having IFR operations change to allow either the missed approach or the primary inbound course to miss the inner core of the TFR. Sometimes we sacrifice minimums, but at least you have some form of instrument procedure. There we go. RNAV 23. There's an RNAV X-ray 23 now into Morristown. It's a bear of a turn, but it keeps you out of the inner core of the TFR. The normal procedure would put you back into the inner core on the missed approach. Skip through these. You busted the presidential TFR. Now what? Well, how will I know? Well, we're going to be calling out to you. Even if you're on a 1200 code, if you're ADS-B equipped, my radar systems have the ability to see your ADS-B call sign. We'll reach out to you on every frequency we can think of. We'll reach out to you on guard, and more than likely, you'll have company that's trying to explain the situation to you in a different manner. Coast Guard helicopters, they will have a lighted sign along the side trying to give you instructions and advise you that you have entered an active TFR. Fighter cap, and I'll touch on some of these procedures, and I'll let the fighter interceptor guys catch on some of them as well. If someone tells you you may have entered the TFR, when FSDO calls, please answer the phone.
Patrol Cessna 182 flying.
This is a little bit of an example of flight intercept procedures and what you might expect
inside the Cougar MOA. And because we've ignored the fighter's first radio call, he's going to make a pass to eyeball us. He tries again to call us.
Aircraft November 594 Charlie Papa, you are entering restricted airspace. You are ordered to turn west immediately. If you do not follow these instructions, you may be fired upon.
And still we ignore him, so he gets more aggressive.
Those are the flares that they're dropping to get your attention. I'm going to ask you to keep an eye on the fighters in these videos that I'm going to show you, because later on I'm going to show you an actual intercept.
The fighters are going to reach out to you, and one of the ways, if you're not up the right frequency, which is, 9 times out of 10, as long as you're listening to guard, we're going to get to you.
The bottom line is start talking to somebody and pay attention to what the fighter's trying to tell you to do and do what he says to do.
We'll rock our wings, and that's just a sign that says, hey, look, do you see us? We're here, do you see us? And it's just a simple, if you do see us and you're unable to establish two-way communication via guard, then just rock your wings as well. That's an acknowledgement signal to us that you know that we're there. So just that simple wing rock right away reduces a lot of pressure, a lot of stress on a lot of people.
Well, the first thing both the fighter and the folks on the ground are trying to determine is, are you really a threat? And in truth, they really just want to help you get out of trouble.
When we do intercept the pilot, we're first thinking, again, safety, how can we help the pilot, and then safely maneuver the pilot away from whatever we're trying to protect at that day.
Yeah, November 5904, Charlie Papa, F-16 intercepted you. You've entered some restricted airspace. You need to exit the restricted airspace and turn south at this time.
I'm a VFR pilot, and I'm on top of a layer of clouds, and I'm not sure where I am.
And do you need any assistance from us?
The batteries of my GPS went dead, and I'm not sure where I'm at right now. If you could help me get somewhere where I can get down through a hole in the clouds, that would be helpful.
Cap 594, armed defense fighter pulling on your left wing. We need you to turn right approximately 30 degrees. New heading will be 210. I'll stop your turn if you don't know where that is. We are going to escort you towards Lamar Airport. And follow me on your left wing.
So Ward, it must really get your attention when an F-16 comes smoking up next to you, right?
Keep that thought in mind.
It's just as intense, but most of us never get to see it until now. The Air National Guard protecting the skies and giving us rare access.
When the president moves around, the Federal Aviation Administration puts a temporary flight restriction in place, and then we defend it.
So what happens if an unidentified aircraft flies into the no-fly zone right above the President of the United States? We've set up a demo today with this Cessna and the Air National Guard. I'm going to be inside of this Cessna, and we're going to be going rogue. We're going to fly into that no-fly zone, and we're going to see how the Air National Guard does it. They scramble the fighter jets that come right near us, and how they get us down to the ground and the President safe. Let's board and see what happens. We barrel down the runway.
And take off. We're off.
Flying for miles and miles until...
Okay, we've just entered the no-fly zone now.
Our pilots aren't talking to air traffic control, ignoring their calls to reach them. That triggers an alarm at the Air National Guard base. These fighter pilots scrambling to their jets. They're on alert and ready to take action 24 hours a day. Today, racing to their F-16s, suiting up, climbing on board, and rushing to the runway. Taking off to intercept our rogue Cessna. Reaching the target in just minutes. This is the view from the F-16. That's my Cessna right there.
Whoa! You can actually hear, I don't know if you can hear it on camera, you can hear that fighter jet coming by. I mean, there's no way you don't hear this or notice it.
Coming up on the left side of our plane.
That is as intimidating as you would think it would be. Look at that fighter jet, he's right off our wing.
Another F-16 swooping in on the right, calling us on aviation frequencies.
You have been intercepted. If you hear this transmission, acknowledge the radio call and rock your wing.
He wants us to identify ourselves. We're a rogue aircraft, remember, for this demonstration, so we're not going to respond at all and see what this fighter jet does.
The fighter right on our wing now, scanning us inside.
What is he trying to do?
He's trying to figure out who we are, who's inside, what we're up to.
And he's trying to make radio contact and tell us to do what? Follow him?
That's correct.
The fighters want to escort us out of the area, but we still don't respond. So the F-16 makes a bold move. Swooping in right there. Look at how close he gets.
Bro, he's crossing right in front of us.
It's called the headbutt maneuver, and you can see why. Watch again. The F-16 crosses right in front, just feet from us. Hard to miss, and that's the point.
That's a pretty aggressive maneuver.
He's just trying to get our attention.
Remember, this is restricted airspace right above the President's vacation home.
You are ordered to turn to the northwest.
The fighter jet giving us one last warning, turning away, hoping we follow. If after all of this, the pilot still won't listen, the plane won't leave the airspace, will you shoot them down?
If required, we'll execute the rules of engagement per the commander of the North American Aerospace Defense Command. And yes, we would do that.
Shoot the plane down so they can't get to the President.
If it meets the rules of engagement, yes, we would, to defend the airspace.
So if you remember when I started, all those lines on the video map with all the flights that were taking place in the airspace. This is isolated, and then I'm going to show you what the rest of the airspace looked
You
like.
are on this frequency. You need to contact me on 124.35. You're entering a active TFR.
So this was an active intercept
November 43074.
at Philadelphia. the first thing you hear is the controller reaching out multiple times to try to get. And now the pilot has just entered the TFR.
11.5 on its intercept for TOI off my nose, 20 miles. Noble 01, Philly approach, Roger, Philly altimeter 3015.
See 2 miles into the TFR, the fighter cap has been committed.
01, I'm radar contact. Approach, Noble 01, request location of TOI. Noble 01 is at your 9 o'clock there in a mile, about south of you there at 2,200. Okay, Noble 01.
That is just to confirm that the Air Force fighter cap and that air traffic are both looking at the same target.
0.5, I need a block altitude for that TO line. 2 to 4. Noble 01, the block altitude is approved as requested.
43074, fully approach near the Medina VOR. You are being intercepted by military aircraft.
So now we're reaching out on multiple frequencies.
Noble 01, intercepted TO, still continuing on, it's confirmed current heading. Noble 01, roger.
So at this point, there are 2 fighter aircraft, one circling, one behind, and they've also launched law enforcement helicopter out of the Wilmington area as well.
Fully approach, if you're up this frequency, you are being intercepted by military aircraft. Please turn north immediately and advise.
01, leaving your frequency for guard. Approach Noble 01, leaving your frequency for guard. Noble 01, roger.
For 43074, fully approach, you are being intercepted by military armed aircraft. You are entering closed airspace. Turn north immediately. You got number 43074 near the Medina VOR. You are entering closed airspace. You are being intercepted by armed military aircraft. Turn north immediately. Contact Philly approach on 124.35.
November 43076, this is Philadelphia Tower on 118.5 and 135.1. If you can hear me, please come up. November 43074, Philly Tower. November 43074, Philly Tower.
43074, Philly approach. You're inside restricted airspace. You're at 2 F-16 circling around you. Are you up this frequency?
So at this point, the 2 F-16s are circling. This is, remember, 30-mile radius, 60 miles.
Philly approach.
Their first call-up is just outside the Class Bravo with a call that says inbound for landing, runway 17. No mention whatsoever of the 2 fighter aircraft that have just followed them for almost 50 miles. At the meantime, while that's going on, this is what the rest of the airspace looks like. So you can imagine dropping 2 fighter aircraft down through the middle of all this, what the impact on the entire aviation community that day was. And this happens multiple times. You can see here, this is the escorted aircraft with its 2 escorts. So I am going to end it there then, gentlemen, and turn this back over to you.
All right, Tom, I'm going to come back to you as soon as we get you online. For now, I'm going to hand it over to our interceptor. Standing by. Tom, the floor is yours.
Hey, thank you. Sorry for that technical difficulties. For the 601st, I appreciate you taking the lead on this. Dave, excellent briefing. You covered a lot of my high points, making my job very easy. For the others that's joining this, I can't see the quantity of people that's on here, but I appreciate your concern to get here and get educated in order to make this seamless event throughout the next summer months and even future events. A few touch points. We got Mr. Hodges here. He is on the meeting as well. He is with our group, System Operations Security. Got Jeff Clark also. He is down with Major Lemon and his team. This is our primary focus for today and in the future, is integrating some with our security partners to make this seamless for the flying public, but also cover this so we get educated, creates less workload, and compliance is what we're shooting for. For the TFRs, You saw the graphics. I don't have any slides. The graphics that were shown were typically showing a 30 nautical mile outer ring and a 10 nautical mile inner ring. I would say that throughout these events and even in the Northeast or throughout the NAS, do not get drawn into that they're always a 30 nautical mile and a 10 nautical mile outer ring and inner ring. There's certain events and driving factors where you could have a 12 and a 32. So just because we have one TFR for one weekend related to Bedminster or somewhere in that area, that you're just going to assume, hey, it's happening over the weekend, it's going to be a 10 and 30. That's not always the case. Check your NOTAMs. There are adjustments depending on sites and times and adjustment on that. So don't get lulled into that. A few of the TFR do's and don'ts. Dave covered the squawking and talking part of it, what you can do in the inner and outer ring. In addition to the squawking and talking, you have to be compliant. You have to be compliant with air traffic procedures. So in the event there's a question about a concern, you may expect air traffic to give you a turn or ask you to do something, and strongly suggest you comply with that. You're required to. One, it gives us a level of comfort in our security partners that you are compliant with what we're doing, and maybe you're troubleshooting an issue. Roll into emergencies. Your primary objective is flying the airplane. You're task saturated. If you're operating in or near the TFR, you have an emergency. Communicate that to us when you can. Let us know what's going on so we can relay that to our security partners. In the event you're operating in the outer ring, you're squawking and talking, and they put you on CTAP frequency to go into an uncontrolled airport and you're still talking. You go misapproach for whatever reason, you're on CTAP frequency, we see the code, you need to come back up on air traffic frequency and advise what you're doing with what's going on, so we can communicate that as well. I will touch one point for the CFRA, the graphic. Dave said I'm on the altitude for the CFRA altitudes is 1299 and below on that. So if you're operating the Bedminster TFR with the CFRA cutout, that is 1299 and below operating in that. For any of the helicopter operators that may be on here, if you are operating within that TFR headed to the CFRA, say flight plan out of Kearney, you have to be on a squawk and talk to that location. Other item we didn't cover, if you'll notice this TFR is an all aircraft TFR. So any Part 107 UAS operators, this applies to you. To operate in that, you have to get an SGI Part 107 waiver, which is through waivers.faa.gov, and file it there with your intent, statement of work, and why you need to be there. So this does apply to you for the unmanned UAS operators. And lastly, I'll touch base for the America 250 events this year on the East Coast. We're expecting additional TFRs that could potentially have a security element to it. Please check your NOTAMs, check your TFRs. It's going to be a busy summer for the NAS, especially in the Northeast. And slowing down just a moment to check those TFRs, see where it's at, how it impacts you, and if you're authorized to operate them, it's going to be less workload on the system and safer for yourself. And if any doubt, you're in the air and you have a question about TFR, you can ask the controllers. They have the relevant information. They know when it's active, when it's cold, and what you can and can't do. So communicate with them and work that out. Major Limit, I believe that's it. Dave stole a lot of my thunder, and I'll turn it back over to you.
Okay, Tom, thank you for the assist on that. Everyone, the next person I'm going to be bringing up is, it goes by Bolt, Major Olive. All right, Bolt, floor is yours.
Hey guys, I'm Major Anthony Olive. First of all, can everyone hear me? Okay, cool. I'll just be talking today about what to expect if you find yourself inside of a TFR and you're not supposed to be there, or you don't know that you're there. Slide. Yep, most of you guys know this, so we'll skip through most of the definitions slide. That's what a TFR is, slide. We'll get to what most people want. This is why we generate some TFRs. Slide. All right, slide. We'll get to the stuff. Everyone should be checking for TFRs, so I will foot stomp what Dave and Tom said. Check your NOTAMs. Slide. Cool. Okay. So within the presidential TFR specifically, there'll be anywhere from 2 to 4 fighters at one time. And we're tasked with basically getting a VID or a visual identification of any type of unknown aircraft or anybody that's not supposed to be in that particular airspace. Types of operations you could see are, well, you won't see shadow. That's basically us hanging out a couple miles back, watching and monitoring you. And then identify, that's most likely what will happen. That's where we fly alongside you to basically get a visual identification of what type of aircraft, who you are, and your intentions. And then divert, which is also known as a headbutt. That's where we will fly in front of your aircraft in the direction where we want you to go. Flares, that's just an escalatory measure to get your attention if you're still non-compliant. And then the helicopters of the Coast Guard will have a signboard on board their aircraft as well. Cool. Big things to do when we do this, and I'll kind of walk you through exactly what happens. First of all, just stay calm. I know it's not every day that a fighter is going to fly alongside of a smaller aircraft. We will own the deconfliction, so just remain predictable. Continue to fly your flight path until you receive a command from us or from ATC. We will be monitoring ATC as well as 1.1.5, which is guard, and that's where we'll try to contact you on. And then follow any instructions that are passed as well. Right, slide. All right, yep. So what you can expect if you find yourself inside of a TFR is one fighter is going to fly up alongside to get an ID of who you are and your intentions. Before any of that happens though, air traffic control, like Dave said, is going to try to contact you on the local ATC freak that you should be monitoring, and then on guard. We're up on guard as well as the air traffic control frequency, so we're listening to the whole conversation. If none of that happens and there's no response, we will try to contact you on guard, and then we will fly up alongside of you. Obviously, we're going a lot faster, so expect us to fly up alongside a couple of times to get your tail number, the type of aircraft you are. We're going to pass that information to air traffic control. Then you could expect us to do a slow turn away from your aircraft in the direction where we want you to go, which is to exit the TFR in the shortest direction. So nothing aggressive, no aggressive maneuvers, just a slow, gentle turn away, and that's a sign that you're to follow us. Like I said, remain predictable. We will maintain the deconfliction, so don't aggressively maneuver your aircraft. Number one, do not descend, right? Because you're over a sensitive area, and a descent is that's an escalatory action, right? We don't want you to descend. So maintain your altitude and just follow us, right? And then respond to us on the radio. Cool. Sweet. Acknowledge the intercept with a wing rock as well. And then, like I said, respond on ATC. We'll be listening to the whole exchange as well. For the signals, like I said, a slow turn, that means fly this way. If still not compliant, for whatever reason, you don't see us, or you're task saturated or whatever, and you continue to fly, then the maneuvers will get slowly more aggressive. We will then fly across your nose. However, we're not going to fly directly at your altitude. We're going to maintain approximately 500 to 1,000 feet above or below you. That way you're not flying through our jet wash, which could create a bad situation. That's turn now, right? So if we do an aggressive turn across the nose of your aircraft, follow us, right? And then flares would be the next action as well to get your attention, right? With that abrupt turn across your nose. If you see us circling an airport, so we get you to turn, we'll slowly circle whatever airport we want you to land at, and then we're gonna overfly that airport with our gear down. We want you to land at that airport. And like I said, this is all calm out. Like the whole time we'll be trying to contact you, but if we can't, expect these maneuvers as well. That's for the day. For the night, it gets a little different. We're gonna flash our nav lights to let you know you're that we're there. We're gonna have all our lights on, so hopefully you can see us. We are gray, so it's a little harder at night. We're not brightly colored, so we'll have all our lights on. Our landing lights are tied to our nose gear, so don't expect us to turn our landing lights on because we have to bring our gear down to engage our landing light. So just expect us to turn all our beacons on with that. We'll turn our landing light on when we get over the airport that we want you to land at. So expect that to happen later. For you guys, for anyone out there, flash your nav lights to let us know that you can hear us and that you will comply. Turn on your landing light to let us know that you're going to land and that is your intention. If the airport that we pick is inadequate for you to land at, whether that be landing distance or whatever, let us know by flashing your landing light and we'll pick another suitable airfield for you. If you flash all your lights, that lets us know you cannot or you are unable to comply with our directions. And then if you irregularly flash all of your lights, then you're in distress. So that gives us a heads up to basically to coordinate with air traffic control that you're experiencing some sort of issue, right? With that. Slide. All right. Yep. Just some keys to success, pretty much all touched on by Dave and Tom here. So you guys are free to operate within the 30 nautical mile, from 10 to 30 of the TFR as long as you meet the caveats, right? You're on a flight plan if you're VFR and you're squawking a discrete code and you're in comms with ATC, right? Or you're on an IFR flight plan with your discrete code and you're talking. The 10 nautical mile ring is a no fly, right? So that's when you can expect those those aggressive maneuvers when you get closer to that 10-mile ring or you're flying directly towards it with no change in your heading there. Slide. Cool. That's about all I have on my end, and we'll wait for questions in the chat.
Lieutenant Termargo, one thing I do want to harp on right here, these knee boards, these are going out with our Civil Air Patrol partners. They are, as of this week, they have these materials. They're dropping these off at these airports, all within 100 nautical miles of the Bedminster area. So go to your local FBOs. They should be having these. If they don't, you can look right here on the bottom right of the screen. It has get this knee board and more at norad.mil.generalaviation. So if you want to have this printed out with you, that's probably a good idea.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, once again, this is Major Corwin Lemon, part of the 601st Air Operations Center's General Aviation Team. That's going to conclude the portion of our brief that is to you guys. The next thing I'm going to do is compile the questions that you have entered into the question and answer section, and we will go through a few of those. If for some reason we are unable to answer any of those questions, I will take them for action and try to get you guys answers and send them back out to the mailing list. So once again, if you have been receiving our emails directly and you did not get the link to this event, then we will be able to send out those questions, hopefully a transcript, possibly a video of this event to you. If you have not been, I encourage you to find that QR code that has the form and get us an email address so we can send something out to you. Before I go into Q&A, the slide that you should have on the screen, let me just read to you real quickly how you guys can reach us if you have any questions and are unable to see the slide. You can reach me at my desk line. That's 283-5650. We also have a party line for the team. That's going to be 850-282-0210. I'm now going to read you an email address. I will do it phonetically. It is 601 Alpha Oscar Charlie dot 601 dot Oscar Uniform Tango Romeo Echo Alpha Charlie Hotel at Uniform Sierra dot Alpha Foxtrot dot Mike India Lima. That's 601 AOC dot 601 dot outreach at us.af.mil. We really do encourage you, whether you're an airport, an FBO, a general aviator, someone involved in the aviation process. If you have any questions throughout the year, we know situations change, questions come up, go ahead and drop us a line. We'll do our best to answer them. Just to reiterate, the Air Force does not control the TFR. The TFR is requested by a third-party agency. The Air Force is in charge of enforcing that TFR for the public. So if you have questions about how you can fly in the TFR, that is generally handled through the FAA. It is published as part of the NOTAM. You can also interface with TSA. We will be happy to talk to you either via email or phone, but we will probably not be able to answer that question in specific. I did also notice there's a question about ForeFlight in the chat. We are obviously not ForeFlight. The best way to interface with them, if you have any questions for that specific program, is to reach out to ForeFlight's customer service. With that, I'm going to go through a quick. I'm going to go through the lineup of questions one by one. We have about 25 minutes remaining here, so if we can answer those questions, we will. If not, we'll give it a couple potato count and then we will press on. So the first question that it looks like we have. It looks like we had some questions with regards to specific procedures and challenges for IFR departures. It says, or the roundup of the question is, what are the specific procedures and challenges for IFR departures from local airports such as 39 November, 47 November, Kilo Charlie Delta Whiskey during the TFR, including obtaining clearance codes, expected delays, and managing communication saturation with air traffic control? Do I have any presenters who are able to answer that question or would like me to reread it?
I think I can chime in on that one. As far as off of 39 November, Princeton, off of Central Jersey Regional 47 November, the fact that they're non-towered airports, you're going to have to get coordination through Philadelphia approach control Newark area. That's going to go to our clearance delivery position first to get your clearance beacon code and coordinate a release time. As I showed that one slide with as many as 200 other people trying to get in at the same time, sometimes those frequencies are tied up. Caldwell's a little better in that it's a towered airport and that you do have direct communications with the tower there. But once again, the trouble on that airport is going to be traffic saturation within the TRACON. Delays, that really depends on the weekend. Some weekends everything goes smooth, and other days it's right at that scud level and everybody's IFR, and it's tough to get through. As I had pointed out, please leave yourself some extra time. I don't think you'd have to leave as much time as you would for TSA screening 3 weeks ago, but you know, you might want to plan an extra 30 minutes prior to when you really need to depart to start to try to depart.
All right, the next question is, what are the rules and exceptions for operating within or near the TFR, specifically regarding airport cutouts like Greenwood Lake for November 1? And what are the equipment requirements for aircraft without electrical systems?
Hey, Major Lemon, I'll take that one. Tom KFA. For the electrical system transponder ADSB out, participating, that is a requirement, and a TFR or CFR. There's no exception for that. The only scenario would be if you were already operating within that TFR, you had a scenario where it was an emergency and you lost an electrical failure, something of that sort. In that scenario, with what Bolt presented, I would fully expect an intercept operation for them to come down and investigate that scenario. So if you can communicate that you're having those issues early, but no, you're not allowed to operate in that without that. The second question, I believe, was for November 1, we'll have a cutout as in years past. I think that answers both those questions.
And Tom, if I can add into that, the cutouts are for egress and entry to an airport. It's not to play in the traffic pattern. It's not to do anything right up to the edge. The other law enforcement agencies that control the TFRs have granted the aviation community that privilege to operate in those areas with the cutouts. But there is a specific reason we got them for you. And as far as operating up to the TFR, we will see the primary target. The fighter cap will see the primary target. If you need to operate for some reason, I'm going to tell you, you need to make sure that you call Philly Tracon or the appropriate ATC facility and coordinate your request just so you don't get visited. Tom, you okay with that?
I am, Dave. Yeah, operating near that outer ring, if you're going to be operating in that capacity with no transponder, again, you like Dave said, call Philly, have that conversation of the why. You've got something going on in operation that you're going to be prolonged operating near that edge. That way we can communicate that to the security partners. Otherwise, if you're within that, I would say 5 to 10 nautical mile of that outer ring on the outside of it, a primary only, that is being looked at. We're watching as air traffic. Security partners are watching it, and just don't do it. There's no need for it. If you know you're going to do it ahead of time, communicate that with us if you're operating in an area. That way we know what's going on, and then we can brief our security partners.
And this is Major Corwin Lemon again. Those were two excellent answers. I would just foot stomp from the enforcement side of the house. If you are going to be operating in the near vicinity of the outer ring, for all intents and purposes, we are monitoring that activity as if you are headed towards the outer ring. So just like was briefed earlier by Bolt, the key to this as an aviator, anywhere nearby, not just within, but nearby the TFR, is to demonstrate consistent behavior and not veer into the erratic. If you're headed directly towards the center ring and you're planning to turn at the last second, I would highly advise, even if you're outside the TFR, come up comms with ATC. Don't just fly around out there thinking, well, I'm not inside the TFR. This won't be an issue. You may not be violating the TFR, but wheels are in motion to begin investigating what the intentions of the aviator are at that point. So this is all, as I'm sure you're aware, aviation is a lot of control of the aircraft, but it's a lot of communication of the aircraft as well. So just communicate early and often, keeps everyone safe and on the same grounds. And that just helps everyone all out. The kind of the theme for the day when it comes to communication. Mike, can you pull up that question for me again? Okay, the next one I'm going to move to is in regards to social media. It says, are you planning on expanding to social media platforms other than Facebook? A lot of younger aviators aren't active on Facebook.
All right, so it's Lieutenant Turner again, Public Affairs. First off, great question, and that is very true. So the social media for the outreach is still relatively a new thing. It's only been active since last July. And just in this meeting, I've seen our followers grow up by at least 12 people. So thanks to you guys who, as soon as I talked about it, you went in and started following the page. So each platform has their own strength. Right now, we chose Facebook because that's the main one for community building. And that's mostly where our target audience is. But if you look at our main page, right now we only have 76 followers. The main benefit we use that page for is, like I said, targeting those groups. I go in about 7 to 10 groups just for Bedminster alone to be able to get the most people. All these other platforms, such as Instagram, which is great for visuals, you have X. Those you really need a following for. Not saying it's not going to happen, those will take a little bit more work. With the Facebook, we're able to tag NORAD, tag AOPA, and kind of bounce off of their viewers. And if you go to our page, we do have a X. It's not just for general aviation outreach, it's for our organization. So it's at First Air Force, that's at the number 1 Sierra Tango Alpha Foxtrot. You'll see a lot of activity on there, especially if there is an intercept in the TFRs. Normally I'll get the call on the weekends and I'll be the ones writing the news release, and we'll post it on there for everyone to see.
All right, the next one that I saw on there, again, had to do with ForeFlight. So I will just reiterate what I said earlier. The question was, many of us utilize ForeFlight. I assume the TFR option on that pulls data from official TFR sources. How quickly does it update, and is it reliable? Opinion, it is pretty reliable. However, it is pulling from an external source, specifically the FAA. Jeff, do you have input on that you want to throw out?
Yeah, there's 2 updates to talk about. So ForeFlight updates from its website version every 6 minutes. On its mobile app version, it's every 12 minutes. So that's for ForeFlight. And then you have the FAA TFR NOTAM system, which updates every 15 minutes. So ForeFlight is pulling that data from the FAA system, and the FAA updates their NOTAMs every 15 minutes. And then ForeFlight, depending on what platform you're using, updates every 6 or 12 minutes.
So what I'm hearing you say, Jeff, is it could be up to 27, approximately 30 minutes for ForeFlight to update on mobile. 15 plus 12. So
if I guess if it was a hit right at that perfect.
Yeah, at the worst time.
Yeah.
So I will say ForeFlight is an incredible tool. I utilize it a lot here at the AOC when I'm just trying to monitor what's going on with the TFRs, trying to track and see what's happening on ADS-B. It's absolutely outstanding for Aviator SA. But as was alluded to earlier by Dave, if you have turned off your TFRs, which I get it, sometimes you're in a high traffic area and you can't handle all the different overlays that are on the screen. If you've turned off those TFRs on a previous flight and then forgotten to turn them back on, they don't automatically repopulate. So please be aware that once they are off until you turn them back on. ForeFlight wants to reduce the friction to you. So by doing that, they allow you to degrade your situational awareness per your preference. So I would encourage you to the max extent possible, as part of your pre-flight, to always turn those TFRs back on, especially if you're in the Northeast region during the summer months. But I leave that up to you as an aviator. Once again, if you have any questions specific to ForeFlight, they do have a customer service line. You can email us at the org box. I have a POC over there that I can ping as well, but that's gonna be kind of a third-party connection. So best way is to reach out to them directly as a customer. With that, I will move on to the next question. It's got to do with the presentations. It says, are these presentations available for us to download and review again? We will make, the 601st Air Operations Center will make our general aviation slide deck available to you. That's going to mostly be containing data on how the intercept works and data on how you can reach us. I will talk to the other agencies you heard today and inquire, try to get a releasable version from them. So once again, if you sign up on the form that we had for this event, or if you sign up via the pilot outreach avenue that we have as well, either of those, you should be able to receive anything we have after action, to include transcript and potentially the recording of the event. Going to move on to the next question. What are the specific procedures for IFR departures from local airports? An example is given: 39 November, 47 November, Kilo Charlie Delta Whiskey during the TFR, including any changes to initial fixes like Sierra Bravo Juliet. What are the expected delays, and what are the strategies for managing saturated ATC frequencies? Dave, I think this one's for you. Would you like me to repeat it?
No, it's pretty similar to the previous one. Solberg SBJ is inside the inner core, so that's definitely not going to be a first fix after departure. You may get something you're not used to. It may be Yardley, it may be some other one, just depending on your direction of flight and runway configuration at Newark. As far as delays, again, that's hit or miss. I would highly recommend planning your departure 30 minutes prior to when you normally would. And yeah, maybe I would have you repeat the rest of that question if there was another portion I missed.
Thank you for that, Dave.
Did I get it all, or did I leave one thing out?
No, I think that plus the previous has covered it.
Okay.
And if you have submitted any of these questions and you feel like they're not being answered, once again, just send us an email, give us a phone call, and we'll reattack on them. The next question I have, we may need some input from the Secret Service on. Again, if you have an answer, if one of our agency partners has an answer, please go ahead and give it. If not, just let us know and we can reattack on that at a later date. The question is, how will the TFR affect other scheduled aviation events? How will the recurring VIP TFR affect other scheduled aviation events, such as the New Jersey Air Show at Greenwood Lake Airport? And how is information about TFRs and NOTAMs being modernized for better delivery to pilots? So the first one maybe for Secret Service, the second one maybe for FAA, if we can get to him. Over.
Yeah, good afternoon. This is Scott Howard with the Secret Service representative. First of all, with your question to major events that take place within the confines of the TFR, we will work closely with the appropriate representatives of that particular event in an effort to determine whether or not that we can provide a solution with regards to security, as well as allowing that particular event to take place within the TFR. So that will be taken on a case-by-case basis for major large events that would occur. And we'll work closely with Mr. Urban, the FAA, and the event coordinator to help make that determination.
Okay, and Mike, scroll back up, please. The second part of this question, and again, if we don't have an answer, no problem, just let me know. How is information about TFRs and NOTAMs being modernized for better delivery to airports? Better delivery to pilots. FAA, do you have any inputs on that right now?
Yes, this is Tom. This is Tom. I can take that one. For delivery, we have seen an increase in our AOC Office of Communications group pushing out information via social media for larger events. May not include these TFRs, but other TFRs that impact the NAS or high volume events, to communicate that to the air traffic community for planning. So we know that social media is becoming used increasingly. As far as delivery outside of the waivers.faa site and the social media platforms and the third-party apps that get that information from us, the only thing I can say for this event, the 601st, you guys have been instrumental in getting this pushed out via email for signing up with the QR codes for any events related to this mission and these types of TFRs. So regardless if you're flying in the Northeast, outside of that area, they also cover the whole NAS. And they push that information out through us in partnership with us with that information. So right now, that's an excellent tool to get notified on this, and they are in lockstep with us to keep this running and look for ways we can modernize this as well.
Okay, thank you for that. I will stand by for a couple more minutes here to see if we have any additional questions come in. But while I do so, again, I just want to tell you guys, we're at an hour and 52 minutes. You guys sat through a bunch of technical difficulties. I do want to thank everyone for being on the line. Whether you were only here for a few minutes or you've been here for the whole thing, we cannot make these TFRs work without good communication. We really appreciate whether you're FBO, airport management, one of the flight schools out there, whether you're a general aviator just trying to go out and enjoy the skies. We really appreciate your partnership in working towards these. We really need your assistance in getting the word out to the max extent possible so that everyone is able to stay in the airspace safely and fly in the airspace safely and enjoy the freedom that we have up there to fly around. So thank you once again for attending. If you have any after action questions, go ahead and reach out to us via either of those two phone numbers or the email I sent out earlier. Go ahead and sign up either for our NOTAM outreach efforts that occur weekly or sign up for this event. And if you have a specific note, go ahead and drop it in there that you want to receive additional information. Once again, this is Major Corwin Lemon, 601st Air Operations Center. This is the General Aviation Outreach Team. We will look forward to hearing from you via either email or phone. And I will stand by a couple potatoes to see if we get any additional questions. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time today. I'm going to release you. We are at 1 hour and 55 minutes. Look for us on email and phone traffic. Over and out.